territories based on mutual respect and inclusion up to all. Some UK government department and in us, which we appreciate because we practice that in our own jurisdiction, that rights come with responsibilities, including the responsibility to uphold our common values, good governance, and ensuring proper democratic accountability and regulation. And last but not least, defending the overseas territories, security, autonomy, and rights, including the right to self-determination. And I can say, OC, that we had taken opportunity when Sam and I went up early in the year to meet with opposition, and Stephen was one of them. And as it turned out, that the election was announced when we were in Parliament later that day, and it happened now that Stephen is the one in charge for the territory. We also was graced because when I went to Samoa and I had a meeting there with the ministers, we said you can enhance the partnership by allowing ministers to come to the joint, not just in technical staff there, because our own ministers travel across at great expense to go and defend their respective territories. There's 14 overseas territories, 2 uninhabited, so they were all present. And because I share as president, we had our minister of the Caribbean region, which excellent well. We went unpaid. We welcome back Rebel Mead, which he has come back with full vigor, aged a little bit, but it hasn't diminished his energy and his ability to speak very frankly and openly and transparently. And then we were joined, by Gibraltar, Helena, Falkland, and the rest of them. And so we had political council meeting on the side, which I also chaired. And I can tell, repeating from what I said, maybe Sam was there so to be more objective than coming from me as a president. It went very well. It was not adversarial. We finished in time. We got all the subjects, and we came out in consensus. I felt almost like a female David going up against Goliath for new Labour government, doing what they really want is open registers. So nothing can fail when you trust in God, and that's what we did. Excellent. Sam will tell you the first 3 nights I could not sleep because I just wanted to make sure that when I came back to Cayman, I did not have to come back saying, oh, well, the financial sector failed because you went and I didn't go in all those political realities. We went, we gave our best, and Sam can also tell you at appropriate time when it came down to the final wording of the communique, they had one word in, and I said, nope, I'm not signing it. And that was a difficult decision, not because I didn't want to defend Cayman, but I had, through the help of God and my team, engendered a very warm reception from the UK team. And as a matter of fact, on the reception night, I was given my usual draft speech, which I went through and I read. And when I got called up to go and speak after the Honorable Stephen, I gave it to Ken FS, who was there and was very helpful as well. And I said, hold this. And he said, well, is this your speech? I said, yeah, but I am praying and I'm going forth in faith. And if you ask me, OC, and this may seem strange for those who don't believe in God, verbatim what I said, I couldn't tell you. But I know that I hinged on to the word that they said family, and I took that F-A-M-I-L-Y and spelled that out, and then went on to try to augment and enhance and impress upon them. If you're going to be family, it does mean second, third, fourth cousin. You mean your equal partner, and let's take this opportunity to reset. And I remember glancing to the side, and I saw Stephen with some tears coming here, and I'm like, oh, Lord, what did I just say? And then to make a long story short, when I came off from the podium, I was met by different senior members and from FDCO. One lady in particular, I won't call her name, obviously, because she was just talking one-to-one with me. And she was crying as she embraced me, and she said, I was with FCO for 10 years, and I was to the stage where I felt that I was burnt out and wondered whether it made any more sense. And she said, after I heard you speak, I have been reinvigorated, revitalized, that I'm going back to my college and said, look, they are really a family. There's more that join us. There's more commonality than divide us. So I believe that if that set the tone for the final communique. Excellent. Because when I wrote to Stephen after my team was negotiating, and it just seemed like the technocrats there, one in particular was not going to give way, and then they came out and said, well, we'll have to escalate this to our minister. I had already written to Stephen through WhatsApp, and I saw the 2 ticks where Stephen read it. But he didn't respond. But then I got a call from my good cab sec, said that Governor Office from Cayman had called, so I knew he read it. And then afterwards I got a call from the governor. And through that type of camaraderie and working together, we were able to prove that we're not a competition, we're a strong coalition, and we can get more out of it when we work together.
Excellent, excellent. I hope you can share a copy of your presentation. That speech, was it recorded? We hope, not necessarily here, but, at some point in time. We have to do our headline news. Gone a little bit past it, but no problem. We'll make up for it. Folks, please stay tuned. Talk today. We'll be back shortly.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. 23-year-old Romario Brown of West Bay turned himself into police Wednesday. He's been on the run since the 18th of November. He was wanted in connection with several burglaries. In international headlines, a new report by the World Bank today notes that while climate change impacts pose increasing risk to the long-term growth of the Eastern Caribbean, there are opportunities for these countries to achieve their development goals and increase resilience by responding to the challenges. The World Bank Group's Country Climate and Development Report for Dominica, Grenada, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines underscores the impact of climate change on existing development challenges and recommends key actions and investments to safeguard development goals from climate impact. The Israeli military today said its warplanes fired on southern Lebanon after detecting Hezbollah activity at a rocket storage facility, the first Israeli airstrike a day after a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah took hold. There was no immediate word on casualties from Israel's aerial attack, which came hours after the Israeli military said it fired on people trying to return to certain areas in southern Lebanon. Israel says they were violating the ceasefire agreement without providing details. Lebanon's state-run national news agency says 2 people were wounded. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
Radio Cayman. More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
This holiday season, let Kirk Market do the roasting so you can do the hosting. Visit in-store or shop online and order your traditional family feast, complete with classic roasted turkey and ham, all the tasty sides and trimmings. Let the chefs at Kirk Market be your holiday helpers so you can spend less time in the kitchen. Order online at kirkmarket.ky or visit in-store today. And don't forget to visit the florist at Kirk Market to find the perfect centerpiece for your table. There's no place like Kirk Market for the holidays.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Born in Watering Place, Cayman Brac, on the 8th day of July 1936, Captain Fred Elman Scott was the 5th child born to Nalio and Vera Scott. Captain Scott enjoyed a fulfilling career at sea, spanning more than 50 years. He was ahead of his time, employing his mathematical and computer skills to create payroll software, depth charts of Georgetown Harbor, and his pride and joy was his weather program that could detect when a storm formed anywhere in the world and was able to track and forecast its path. He had 6 children and was married for 52 years to Bernadette Silva, whom he met during his tenure in Brazil. In 1954, when Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II visited, Captain Scott had the distinct honor shaking the Queen's hand and piloting the Royal Yacht Britannia and anchored it in the Georgetown Harbor. Captain Scott was a humble man who liked his khaki suit and cap and loved to share his knowledge with those who crossed his path. He was honored at the National Heroes Day acknowledging the seafaring heritage of these islands.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands. The ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom. The land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. My pleasure to have in the studio with me the Honorable Juliana O'Connor-Connolly, Premier of the Cayman Islands, Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Samuel Rose, Dr. Dax Basdeo, who is the Chief Officer in the Ministry of Financial Services, and we have been joined by Ms. Micah Coleman, who is the Senior Regulatory Advisor in the Ministry of Financial Services as well. I'm going to throw the mic back over to the Premier. She's our quarterback here today, as well as always the leader wherever she goes, and we defer to her. Premier.
Thank that description, because then I'll throw the football to Dr. Dax before we lose time and just ask him to go in. For the listeners, I'm sure want to know about what was agreed as it relates to the financial aspects with the LIAs and how it would affect Cayman and his general consensus on the trip and negotiations.
Dr. Dax?
Sure, good afternoon again. So I'll take a quick step back to talk generally about illicit finance and tackling things like money laundering and terrorism financing. And I think it's fair to say over the past decade in particular, the world as a whole has agreed that we must allow our law enforcement to fight illegal activity like money laundering, like terrorism financing. And a key part of that has been about beneficial ownership transparency. And quite simply, that's making sure that the right people know who the persons who own and control and benefit from a company are known, particularly when it comes to law enforcement trying to make sure they're combating illicit legal activity. So obviously the unfortunate situation and the war in Ukraine has also put a lot of emphasis on sanctions, and the Cayman Islands has done its part, as the Premier has said, to make sure that we're implementing a sanctions regime to make sure that those funds that could perhaps support the illegal efforts of Russia, those assets are being frozen. And to date, over $8.4 billion in US dollars has been frozen in the Cayman Islands. And the Premier has done a great job, I would say, in securing a fact that in the communique, there's an explicit reference to the Cayman Islands' efforts and sanctions being effective. And that's important because when we're criticized by the media around the world who want to say bad about the Cayman, we can point to the fact that the people who know what's going on, the UK themselves has said, we've done an excellent job at making sure we're tackling these sanctions issues. So that is one part of the conversation. I think we had a very good outcome because of what's been said by UK in the communique about the effectiveness of Cayman. The second big thing, obviously, is around beneficial ownership, and that's been a topic that has been debated here for the last few years. Again, it is an important aspect of the fight against this criminal activity, because when it comes to making sure that we can combat money laundering, terrorism financing, and so forth, our law enforcement must understand and be able to find out who is controlling these companies or doing anything that perhaps is illegal. So I think we all agree that we must have beneficial ownership transparency. We've been under pressure for the past few years from the UK to introduce public registers, and I think Cayman has stood its ground to say that that's a concern, because we do have data protection, we do have privacy, we have our constitutional obligations, and therefore, to balance the transparency that will help fight illegal activity, we must also consider privacy rights or constitutional obligations. We've taken comfort to the degree that the European Union has had a case that said there's something that must balance, and the EU has also said, the EU Court of Justice has said, the way you do that is to introduce what's called a legitimate interest access test. And so the Premier put forward a very strong position in her meeting with the Minister and in the JMC and with our colleagues, that the right approach to deal with beneficial ownership transparency, to support our law enforcement, and also to include, to a degree, journalists and civil society who have an interest in fighting money laundering and terrorism financing, that legitimate interest access is the way to go for them to have to be a part of this fight against illegal activity. And so that position was supported, is reflected in the communique. There's no mention here of us being pushed towards public. I think that is a huge step forward to get the right approach to make sure we tackle this illegal activity.
Now, as far as the Foreign Affairs Committee in the UK, and I'm trying to remember the name of the two persons there now, Hodge, Dame Margaret Hodge, and Andrew Mitchell, and the Ordering Council that was prepared. Where are we with that?
So that obviously was an issue that we were faced with 5 years ago? 2019.
Yes, 2019.
That has not been raised again. I think we've seen news reports in the UK that the Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary, are not looking to legislate for the overseas territories. It was not discussed. If you see the communique, and it's also online, everyone can read it. It does show the fact that that's not mentioned. There's an acceptance of the fact that our case to do legitimate interest access has been supported. That is the way forward. It's not a concern right now.
And the value of this communique, because when I saw that it hadn't been issued immediately after the meeting, I said, there's some technical issue, some tickling issue somewhere. Why this hasn't come out yet? And being involved in these in the past, I suspected something in relation to it. So it's obvious what happened there. But what this communique says here, how it may not be. I'm not sure if it's legally binding, but it's certainly morally binding. When you sit around, a table and you discuss something and you come to agreement and you make a public statement in relation to it, must have some, binding obligation.
Well, Mr. Connor, that forms the position that the Minister, the Foreign Secretary, and the Prime Minister will be able to take into Parliament and the public to the public. The Premier didn't get to mention that the JMC this year had two special guests. She was intimating that during her trip to Samoa, she raised the importance of the highest level involvement, the UK government, the Labour government, from the time of Mr. Doughty's time as the shadow foreign ministry Secretary of State. He indicated that to us that they wanted to really reset. If they took the power, they were very confident about their ability to win the election. And he was very unequivocal in his view that if they were to take the government, they wanted to have a very new reset relationship with the overseas territories. Now, we are very aware in Cayman of what a previous Labour government looked like to us. You know, there was very pejorative and attacking approaches taken to us in the past, and you know, people very clear statements about how the evil of the overseas territories and some very terrible names we were called in the floor of Parliament. And
Captain Underpants, remember him?
We had Don Primarolo
as well. Yes.
And they fought of course, Gordon Brown, who wasn't very friendly to us either. So you know, Labour was coming in with a new approach, and so the Premier said, well, if you're committed to a new approach, then you should make sure then that the Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary should be at the JMC. And from time to time, the Foreign Secretary has passed by at a JMC and come in for shake the hands, and that's it.
I remember the days of Jack Straw.
Right. They pop in for a few moments, and I think once or twice the ministers have been whisked away to number 10. But that's usually to be told to do something financial services related, right? So, but this time they were surprised by two VIP guests, none other than the Foreign Secretary David Lammy and the Prime Minister himself, Mr. Keir Starmer, who came and spent about an hour with the leaders of the JMC, and so of all the overseas territories. So they had a private conversation, discussion, which allowed them to engage and to talk about various issues, etc. But now, with the communique coming out, this gives them the ability to answer questions on the floor, because you know, parliamentarians on both sides, or all multiple sides, because there are many different parties, as we know, in Parliament now in the UK. But when they put questions to them, what have the overseas territories committed to, they can refer back to the communique and say, well, this is what we asked and this is what we have agreed. And so the timelines and the specifics are there for everyone to see. And the references to the various different overseas territories, because obviously Montserrat and Gibraltar have publicly accessible registers. They've already signed them, have them up and running. But we also know Montserrat doesn't really have a very large financial services industry, right? And so, you know, it speaks to what constitutions allow, a constitutional provision. So again, one of the important things about the relationship with overseas territories in general is that while we're 14 altogether, but 12 inhabited, we're all unique. One size does not fit all. And so that's been one of the challenges we've had in the past with UK governments, period, in general. They say, well, you overseas territories. And while we are, yes, all the same in terms of the constitutional relationship, the nuances of our individual situations are all quite unique. And so if a one size fits all simply cannot work. It cannot work from a disaster management perspective. It can't work from a healthcare perspective. It can't work from a financial services, from a security. We all have very unique situations. And so this communique indicates how we're going to approach financial services from a unique approach.
And this will be their talking point and their Bible from there on in. They'll all be singing from the same hymn book as well. Ms. Susan, you need me to come to you, right, for commercial break now? In 5 minutes. Oh, okay. Between Dr. Basdeo and Ms. Coleman, we had a question, and it's sort of like tilting off a little bit from the conversation, but one of our listeners was curious to know about when funds are frozen, when they're frozen, you know, what happens to them, and does the freezing country at any point in time get access to those funds eventually? Can you speak to that?
Sure, and I'll admit up front that I'm not a sanctions expert, not sort of my area. But according to how we run a sanction regime, we do follow the UK sanction regime. And so when funds are frozen, they remain frozen. There's no provisions in our legislation that says about getting access and what's to be done. They're frozen and they remain so.
Okay.
Yes. And they can't be used or any interest obtained on those funds as well, so they're completely frozen until I guess we're told otherwise. Okay. Because we saw in the case of the Iran sanctions and the US, you know, they unfroze them eventually, but I believe I've seen instances where those funds have been
at some point in time use for for other purposes as well.
Sure, and every jurisdiction has their own rules around how to deal with sanctions, their own laws. We follow the UK's regime, so that's how we manage our business.
Yeah. Premier, are you going to talk anything about the bilaterals, as well that you would have had with the minister, over there, because we know that those bilaterals do take place as well.
Yeah, sure. We did have a bilateral with Honourable Stephen. We've had other meetings too. For example, we met with the head of the Foreign Affairs as Honourable Emily Thornberry.
Mm-hmm.
We thought that was important because we don't want to find ourselves in a situation where we can be summoned by them, but we need to build that relationship and establish an open communique with them. So we took the time to meet with Lib Dems and other ones that they're the Conservative to make sure that we keep that open rapport. But when we met with Stephen, there were a number of things for us. We still are fighting that battle, and I think we're almost there based on the response that we got from Stephen about our students having access to home fees and maintenance fees. We kept bringing that up at every single meeting that we had, and there were certain assurances that we take them by the word that they're going to do it. If not, we're going to keep bringing it up again. We also spoke about a matter of illegal migration and the possibility of us getting more Cubans with the soon-to-be President Donald Trump and his campaign promises of doing mass evictions from his country with the 3 hurricanes hitting Cuba and the blackout from electrical lack of power that, Cayman would be seen as the closest jurisdiction. So far, we've been very fortunate that the Haitians have not come this far, but have been to Jamaica and they sent them right back. We may not have that luxury because we're on the UK again. But we saw our friends and colleagues from TCI, and they made an impassionate plea to get assistance. UK made certain undertakings, but it was felt that into the communique that we would include, which was moved by Gibraltar initially and second by Premier Burt from Bermuda, which we all agreed that it had to be put on the front burner because they were seeing more murders. They were, for them, they said that it was Haitian against Haitians, but it shows that their borders had been penetrated and that there was gang warfare now going on in Turks. And of course, tourism is their big leg. They're trying to get a little bit more into financing, but they're still doing good so far with tourism, and they want to make sure that they don't have an erosion with that. We got great support from Premier Mead about what's happening in our environment as it relates to 7 Mile Beach. I had to remind him, though, that it's not the whole beach that's on, so that tourists will still come to Cayman. That was a part of the southern part of the beach. And we indicated that we, like our colleagues, don't have that access that we used to enjoy with the European Union because of Brexit, and they're fully cognizant of that, and they took it on board that they would have discussions on that. We know that Darwin Plus is coming up to be the deadline for that to expire, and so we asked them to reconsider that would continue because it's been very beneficial to Cayman. There's a Blue Belt funding as well, and of course they have their own budgetary situations up there, but it did give a very open-ended to negotiate and to communicate back to us. We also had a situation where our police have to pay I think was it 100, 200%?
Yeah, 120%.
120 something percent more to access the police and technical and professional schools in the UK. And we said, well, if we are a family, and we put if because we were being very polite with it, but it was like a loaded question. If we are a family, then we need to have a level playing ground, equity and parity, and access to these funds. So they took that on board. They seemed somewhat surprised that was the case. And so I'm looking forward that we'll get that positive outcome that our policemen can go. They also opened up the training, like for chief officers, that they can come. They've done a very detailed study, the Minister of Education, and he's promised to share that with the territories that wish to access that. So I really came away OC feeling that there was a new air. I don't want to repeat the late Ralph when he said, I see a new dawn dawning. But I really felt that
that was a real dawn.
Yeah, that there was a resetting of what was going on. You felt, and something logistically, you know me, I try to be fairly observant, and I had the temerity to say, even though I was a visitor to an extent, and my status probably didn't go beyond that at that stage of negotiation, that just the formation of how the desk was, it was just desks together and the room elongated, and in the end, I suggested to Stephen, I said, perhaps if we really want to show that we're family, we ought to do it more like a rectangle, because they had their governors sitting along here who don't participate per se, even though I can say the atmosphere was so that when we took the breaks, I saw certain governors come into their premiers and saying, well, this, that, and the next thing. So there was a good synergy in the room, and suggest that the governors would sit on this end to let them be the bridge between the UK government and ourselves. They didn't necessarily have to speak per se, but I know they were appreciative, because I had governors come to me after and said, thanks for remembering us, because they sit there, and as soon as we leave and get on a plane, come on, then they're here and we there. Yep. And so for one time during the year, they could be equals around the table, not that they have to hold their hand and say, because as president, it was very fortunate for Cayman, because I got to speak on behalf of all these territories. I mean, Stephen sat here and I sat across from him, and the UK, they're very structured. And so there's very little chance to permeate another social stratification. So even when we went into the palace, they set you up that way. I was the first, the rest followed me. So King Charles came and spoke and had fun. Members of Cayman remember things about Cayman, and he was followed by his son, Prince William, who did the same thing. And, so people were looking at me as if like, what's so special about her that, because they have people that come out and line you up, right? And I thought that, the Lord makes no mistakes, because when that position came for us to be the president, I had no idea I was going to be the Minister of Financial Services at that time. Right. And so the stars, as it were just lining up. And I just think that today, us coming on, is no coincidence. It's Thanksgiving Day, and I just want to repeat that. We had so much to be thankful for, and even now, God woke us up this morning and we came back. Our financial service is not shutting down. It's going to grow. I have no doubt about that. And the fact I asked Dax and Ms. Coleman this morning, what's the feedback from them? And I let them say what the feedback is, so it won't be third hand from me.
Okay, so we'll hear from them as soon as we return from this commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. Talk Today. We'll be back shortly.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
A Christmas lighting safety tip from CUC. Consider putting lights on a timer so that they are only on when you are at home, and remember to avoid connecting 3 or more strings of lights to a single extension cord. Be safe this Christmas.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments December 7th to the 14th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited whether you're seeking advanced skin care, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles. Dr. Wayne Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email Dr. Porter Cayman at gmail.com. That's drportercayman@gmail.com. Call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That's 946-9020. Attention book lovers and history buffs, get ready for an evening with one of Cayman's most celebrated storytellers. Join Caymanian cultural historian, educator, and author J.A. Roy Bodden in association with Ian Randall Publishers for the launch of 2 new books, Trouble in the Streets and The Legend of Long Celia. Woman of Blood and Bone. Meet the author in person, grab a signed copy, and dive into the heart of Caymanian history and culture through Bodden's captivating, powerful storytelling. Saturday, December 7th at the Studio Theatre. The Harkwell Center comes alive, starting at 6 p.m.
The biggest luxury sale of the year is back again. For 4 days only, Kirk Freeport's Black Friday weekend sale will have once-a-year deals on jewelry, watches, fragrances, accessories, and more. From Thursday, November 28th until Monday, December 2nd, you can find unbeatable discounts from your favorite brands at Kirk Freeport's network of locations at The Strand, Cardinal Avenue, Bayshore Mall, and its La Perfumerie stores. Visit KirkFreeport.com for details. Don't miss out on the year's best deals at Kirk Freeport.
The holiday season is approaching, which means the holiday gatherings and a little bit of me time.
Beacon Furniture has the perfect selection of furniture pieces to bring comfort and joy to your home.
Comfortable seating, cozy bedroom furniture, the perfect dining set to fit your guests, mattresses that are just right, and gorgeous home accessories.
Beacon Furniture offers free delivery and setup. Visit us at 386 Shamrock Road, across from the Seafarers Hall in Prospect, or call 943-2500.
Happy holidays from Beacon Furniture.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. My pleasure to have in the studio with me an Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, Premier of the Cayman Islands, Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Samuel Rose, Chief Officer in the Ministry of Financial Services, Dr. Dax Basdeo, and the Senior Regulatory Advisor in the Ministry of Financial Services, Ms. Micah Coleman. Premier, I promised that we would hear from both of you in relation to the reaction of the financial industry here in the Cayman Islands to what has transpired as a result of the joint ministerial meeting that took place in the United Kingdom last week.
Sure. So I think it's fair to say that the industry has been quite keen to follow progress on this issue of beneficial ownership transparency. And there's been over the years a lot of concern with this supposed move towards public that UK was pushing. But I think going back to the court case I mentioned in the European Union, that was really a turning point in this discussion because that court case, which spoke to human rights and privacy rights, is based on provisions that are materially similar to our Constitution. And therefore we have a very firm basis to argue that fully public registers is not acceptable in the Cayman Islands. It goes against our constitutional obligations. And I think industry has been saying along with us that that's the right approach. We can see that this court case has a firm foundation for arguments being made, and what we've been working with them on is to make sure that we are working towards an interpretation of legitimate interest access based on that court case. I did have some feedback during the process of the meetings in London, where industry was indicating to us, stand the ground, here's the issues that are perhaps most of concern. And I'm thankful we got to a position where we did not give anything away. We thought we maintained our position for the most part. A small tweak in terms of when things are going to be done, but nothing significant. So I think we've been very grateful for industry's involvement, their cooperation, their feedback through all the conversations we've been having with them to make sure that we're on the right track. And I'll also say that in terms of how we've approached this, we've also been very keen to work with our overseas territory colleagues, as well as the Crown dependencies. And we did have a meeting with them while we were in London.
Yes, so we met with Jersey officials on the Friday, and we spoke about some shared challenges, especially with regards to beneficial ownership. And they were keen for continued collaboration across the overseas territories and the Crown dependencies on this issue, whilst respecting our unique differences as well. So it was a very positive meeting and I think a positive end to a very positive week as well.
So Dr. Basdeo, what do we say to those skeptics who are sort of fearful that the position that the Cayman Islands takes, which is supported by industry, that could at some point in time put us at loggerheads, possibly with the UK, but based on what we're hearing here now, they're fully behind us. But we know that, there are other outside interests and influences in the UK that want to do otherwise. What do we say to them?
I think we get back to the reason this is important. We want to combat illegal activity. We want to combat money laundering. We want to make sure that we do everything we can so that those kind of bad things don't happen. And if you understand and agree with that principle, then we want to make sure that the regime we have in terms of beneficial ownership supports the fight against those illicit activities.
Yes.
If we do that, we have done all we can to make sure we're meeting the international standard as set by the Financial Action Task Force. That is a very important thing we must maintain. We're going to be assessed in a few years' time. We know we're at that point where we're doing the right thing. The issue with journalists, again back to the court case in the European Union, says it recognizing that there are persons in the community who have a legitimate reason to have access to this information to help fight and combat money laundering. So if we want to make sure we keep bad actors, the bad companies, the persons who are doing the bad things out of Cayman, we maintain our good standing globally in terms of having good business, then this is the right thing to do. Will it affect us? Well, on one hand, what we've also done is make sure we have protections in there, in the regulations, in the law. So people who have a concern that they'll be unfairly targeted by people who are wishing them ill intent, kidnappers and so forth, they can be protected. So we have those safeguards built into the law, built into the regulations. So in truth, the persons that should be very careful to come to Cayman to do business are those who are bad actors. We're doing the right thing. And I think we have been recognized both in the United States in terms of our discussions with the United States Treasury Department, within the European Union and the European Commission, that we're pushing on an area where the world is wrestling with these new standards. And we can now sit at the table with them and discuss our shared efforts to combat these bad things. And they can look to Cayman as being a colleague, as a peer, to discuss these issues. It's a recognition for us and what we're doing, and that's important as well.
Excellent, excellent. Premier, over to you. Ms. Susan, you want to take the break first? No, we're good. Continue.
Okay. One of the things that we were able to get away that affects Cayman or will assist us is that they did, like I say, give this commitment to funding and supporting climate resiliency, which is very important, as well as the Minister of Defense and the Foreign Commonwealth FDCO will explore sustainable options for annual hurricane support. When Speaker Hoyle was here, he expressed his support for having something more permanent within the jurisdiction. And it'd probably become a toss-up, I guess, between TCI and Cayman as to where that would happen. But we also emphasized that and got support from our overseas territories. So we're hoping that we'll find fertile ground with the UK as well. We were appreciative of the 2 boats that come, during the hurricane season. But that's only one of the risks that we're seeing in Cayman. We're seeing a lot of security issues in most of the territories. We have similar things that are happening, especially in the Caribbean region, that we think that, it's just like America when you go to Walmart and you see this police car, then you realize that nobody's in it, but it takes a brave person to go and peep in and say they're not there. Just the mere presence, I think, would be a deterrent. So we were happy to come away with that as well. We were also very reassured that they were satisfied in the UK that democracy didn't go and sign up with Churchill or Bodens that democracy in Cayman is alive and well. And they emphasized, delight that the rule of law is still operative in Cayman and that there's still good governance within the Cayman Islands. And that made me feel that, taking the decision not to call a snap or unplanned election was the right thing to do, not just for Cayman, but for our enhancement, because early in the year they want to do the strategy and the compact. So it's important for the communique to set the right foundation that we can now springboard. So there was some deviation as to whether we should just go straight with the compact, but I think the consensus came out that we should go for a white paper because it is a new government, just as it did back in 1999. It was the next one, 2012, that they should set out what it is, but purely nothing about you without you. It has to be a collaborative and a consultative process, and I think we came away with those reassurances. So I look forward with eager anticipation for early in the year. Hopefully, Honorable Stephen, he's promised to go to Montserrat and to Cayman, that I'm hoping it will be before the 1st of March when the House is prorogued, because I would like also for the opposition to be a part of the conversation. As you know, once the House is prorogued, they become candidates. And so I'm hoping that we can get that. We've also spoke to a number of other politicians in the UK, and there's no longer an operation of Friends of Cayman per se.
APBG.
Yes, but we have invited, and we will continue to invite them to hope that before the middle of February, we can have them come down. Because one thing we found was that once we started talking, they're still part of our story that's untold. But once we started sharing it, you could see the light bulb going off. That we heard the unintended consequences as well, which we used in certain parameters, but we felt it was prudent to do so. Is that a number of those, including the Prime Minister, had been to Cayman, including the Chief Minister from Gibraltar, to work in legal cases in Cayman, and the lady from the chair of the Foreign Affairs, her husband had been here for 3 months doing a case in Cayman, which caused her to come out. So the unintended consequences of a well-regulated financial center is that they get some nice funds, because 3 months working in the court is not a job that is on shore, and so it is good that we do what Dr. Dax said and Ms. Coleman, that we make sure that we keep out illicit finance and the drug money and stuff like that. But Cayman is a well-regulated financial center. We've worked hard, not just as government, but previous governments, the politicians, as well as the civil service, and we have gained that status. It always been naysayers, but for me, you know what my philosophy is: you can say whatever you want. Once you can't prove it, we'll continue to grow and provide a good livelihood. I mean, there were times around there we're not grant aided, and so we know how that equations and indirect liability of contingent liability allow us to make our money. We don't want fishes to just be thrown at us. We want to go fishing in the best fishing places and be a competition that is reasonable, that's well regulated, that earns a good well-being and livelihood for our people. And that's what we've done. That's what we're going to continue to do.
Speaking on the whole issue of contingent liability, you always hear people talk about data points and data. And I would like them to point out at any point in time other than natural disasters, like for instance in Montserrat and the volcanic eruption over there, when has any overseas territory become a contingent liability to the UK government? Never heard of it. We have had one that has unfortunately cost lives because of the issue of sovereignty, and who has sovereignty over it, the Falkland Islands. But you would have thought that by now they would say, listen, you have proven yourself, we're going to cut you a little bit more slack. We're going to let you go out there on your own a little bit more and not worry about this whole issue of contingent liability, because it's more moral than anything else. There's nothing that I am aware of that legally binds them if we get into financial difficulties to pay, off our debts.
I'll give it all to Sam shortly, but I think that we do have an optimism in that they have set their agenda domestically in United Kingdom, as well now entrenched in the communique, that they want to reset. And the letters RE is not coincidental. If had they considered it going to be set, it would not have been as amicable as it turned out to be. But the fact that they've recognized that what has been ought not to be, I think that we need to maximize that potentiality and go to the table and have the discussion so that we can come back and say, we have done all that we can. And, they've also indicated that they're not holding us on a string to be with the UK. And in Cayman instance, that's our choice. It has worked well for us.
Yes.
But they have left open the door that if we want to go that direction, that is not, and maybe at this time I should just say the whole issue about not another Bermuda, which you would have heard when we did Constitution.
Yeah.
Well, they distanced themselves from that whole principle because we brought it up. A couple of us brought it up because we had been there with Ian Hendry and Susan, and we were told, well, if you want to go in advance, they came on Constitution 2009 anymore, you need to make an appointment and go to the Eagle Room.
Yeah.
And we hadn't quite reached there, and we thought that there should be incremental midpoints along there. And from what I took away from the meeting, they had removed themselves from the Bermuda, no more Bermuda. So that means that there's opened the door. And I guess since the modus operandi seemed to be openness and transparency, we would not be a family if you treated one like how Joseph was treated and the rest of the brothers wanted to kill him because he had a favorite coat. Now they have to feed all of us equal.
Yeah, well, Premier, as a good host, I can't resist this to say that, after all that you have accomplished and, you've been now thrown into the financial realm of things and everything else.
Good
how can you
Graham, talk to you.
should I say it? We need you. You are needed in the Cayman Islands. Now, people will say that I'm being biased, and I'm saying this personally, not, as a employee of Radio Cayman or anything else. But that is the type of leadership that we need. We have some politicians who are out there who are no longer, into politics, who may have the capabilities and the knowledge in terms of especially the historical part of things, but we need people like you with the knowledge, the background, and the experience, as well. So I'll have to go over to Kim and Brack and talk to the Brackers over there.
I'll welcome George and talk to George. But I've always thought that to be a good leader, obviously it comes with integrity, but your job, certainly from my personal perspective, is not to be a leader. And that seems like an oxymoron, but to find people who can be better than you are. And like Ken Rogers say, you need to know when to hold them and to fold them. And so let's let Lord have his way. But as far as Juliana is concerned, I think April will be my last time around. But I will say this, I will not leave Cameron East or Cameron West or any other district in Cayman just to failed independent policy. That has been a miserable experiment. We have too much at stake for that to happen. And so, as I said, I'm not running, but I will be campaigning whatever political capital I have to let the people know for no benefit of my own. I don't have to do it. I can go home and swing in my hammock, go to church, whatever. But I don't have no other passport. I mean, we got his British passport, and that's because I need a visa to go to Australia. And that's the plain truth. And thanks to Ezra's son who ran in London airport and gave it to me. But I am a proud Caymanian, not proud with smugness or arrogance, but our forefathers and mothers have worked. And one of the things they taught us is love your neighbor as yourself. And so that's why we can have this configuration around this table. She came from overseas, but I can tell you, when she was over there, she fought just like dogs. And if she didn't, she would hear it from all three of us. And so we are proud today to bring her to the table. And that's how Cayman grew. We were able to get along with other people. They were able to get on with us. We saw that this was a little piece of heaven, as it were, and we were going to protect it. And they knew that we didn't come with the big six and say, oh, we don't get AWACS and say we're going to European. But they knew that if we felt that our financial industry was threatened, we were going to the UK. If I had gone shut down everything else to get money to the, we had to go to UK, go to EU, because sometimes you got to stop there and make them know your presence. But I can say in all fairness to them, we were well received, we were treated as equals, and so I'm giving them the opportunity as they have given us with their warm reception. And that was again evident from Samoa, as I mentioned when I was here.
Yes.
Most people when you go to embassy, you have to go to this track. I got to the UK embassy and they had my ID waiting outside him say, I have yet to get out the vehicle to do it. So I know that there was a change in the atmosphere, and so we have to use that and build on it. Forget what's happened, gone underneath the bridge. We know what was underneath the bridge, so we can see from afar off what the indicators are, and we can say, look, this is not a reset. This is business as usual. I did not have any inclination that that was the way it was. I mean, even after we held out, and I'm sure that was a bit of pressure for Stephen, because Stephen was so accommodating. And like I said, I felt great pressure. I didn't sleep that night. Juliana, it's one word. But being a lawyer and a former English teacher and PE teacher, one word means a lot in English. One letter means a lot. And I'm like, oh, my team is probably going to think, what an upstart. You just come here and we could have this communique. I've been with other meetings and the communique, like you said, comes out there. But I'm like, what do you do? Send me back here, man. And so I hope I wasn't ferocious, but I held my ground. I was trying to be firm and friendly, and I'm sure.
And I'm sure you garnered respect as a result of that, too.
Well, I hope so for Cayman benefit, because I just felt that our financial sector is so important to us. That's the fuel to our budget, and people depend on it. It creates jobs. It gives scholarship to my people, and I was not going. They could do whatever they wanted to do with me, but I was not going to go there and give it away. So I'm so grateful to Stephen, to the governors, to all my team, that we did come away much better than I thought, and many here, I'm sure, felt. So it's a good day to be thankful.
Okay. Premier, I know that you have a 2 o'clock meeting, but we're going to go to a commercial break. And when we come back, at least give you an opportunity for some closing comments as well. Folks, please stay tuned. Talk today. We'll be back shortly.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
This Thanksgiving, the Ministry of Health and Wellness would like to encourage you to hold the salt. 12% of Cayman residents always or often add salt or salty sauce to their food. Diets high in salt are associated with raised blood pressure, increased risk of heart diseases, gastric cancer, and kidney disease. To learn more, log on to www.gov.ky/steps or follow us on Facebook. Let's step into wellness together, Cayman.
Ready to kick off the holiday season Cayman style? Join the Cayman Islands National Museum for Lukia, a one-of-a-kind anniversary celebration and Christmas market. November 30th from 4 to 8 p.m. Discover the best of our islands with unique local vendors, handmade crafts, and traditional Caymanian food. It's the perfect place for early Christmas shopping, and best of all, entry is free. Don't miss Lukia at the Cayman Islands National Museum, where holiday spirit and island heritage come together. See you there.
Black Friday is here. It's time to shine. At Kay's Fine Jewelry, where magic aligns. Save big on rings, watches, and more. Luxury treasures at deals you'll adore. Find your treasure. The best awaits you. But you have to act now to make your wishes come true.
Kay's Fine Jewelry, bringing sparkle to your holiday season with exclusive deals this Black Friday on diamonds, bracelets, engagement rings, flexi jewelry, designer watches, and more.
Kay's Fine Jewelry, located on Albert Panton Street, across from the House of Parliament.
Yesterday, today,
always and forever.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, This is Headlines.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market.
I'm April Cummings with your headlines. The Department of Labor and Pensions launches new online calculators designed to make it easier for users to check their vacation and maternity leave entitlements. The new features will help users navigate those entitlements under the labor law without needing to call or visit the DLP office. You can find out more at gov.ky/DLP. In international headlines, a social media ban for children under 16 passes the Australian Senate today and will soon become a world-first law. The law will make platforms including TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, Reddit, X, and Instagram liable for fines of up to 50 million Australian dollars for systematic failures to prevent children younger than 16 from holding accounts. The Senate passed the bill 34 votes to 19. The House of Representatives yesterday overwhelmingly approved the legislation by 102 votes to 13. The House has yet to endorse opposition amendments made in the Senate, but it is considered a formality since the government has already agreed they will pass. The platforms will have a year to work out how they could implement the ban before penalties are enforced. Vaping is coming before the Supreme Court next week as federal regulators ask the High Court to uphold its block on sweet-flavored products following a spike in youth e-cigarette use. The Food and Drug Administration in the U.S. has denied more than 1 million marketing applications for candy or fruit-flavored products that appeal to kids, part of a wider crackdown that advocates say helped to drive down teen vaping after an epidemic-level surge in 2019. Vaping companies, though, said the agency unfairly discarded arguments that their sweet e-liquid products would help adults quit smoking traditional cigarettes without putting kids at greater risk. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
This holiday season, let Kirk Market do the roasting so you can do the hosting. Visit in-store or shop online and order your traditional family feast, complete with classic roasted turkey and ham, all the tasty sides and trimmings. Let the chefs at Kirk Market be your holiday helpers so you can spend less time in the kitchen. Order online at kirkmarket.ky or visit in-store today. And don't forget to visit the florist at Kirk Market to find the perfect centerpiece for your table. There's no place like Kirk Market for the holidays.
The DVDL Customer Support Unit is now open. Customers can book appointments for written and driving tests through DVDL's hotline at 945-8344. That's 945-8344.
Funky Tank's Black Friday weekend sale is on now. Mark says that if you snooze, you will lose on some great savings. So head on down now to Funky Tank's and take up to 30% off store-wide, 10% off computers, televisions, accessories, and all AC units, 15% off cell phones, linen, small household appliances, fridges, stoves, and auto accessories, 20% off fans and hair care products, 25% off cell phone accessories, portable radios and CD players, tablets, and fireworks, 30% off batteries, perfumes, musical instruments, and accessories. Nintendo Switch reduced from $389.90 to $298.95. Sale is on at both Funky Tanks locations. Shedden Road, call 949-0998 and Countryside Savannah, 943-0998. Black Friday deals just got bigger at Bransauce Home Gallery. Now until Saturday, November 30th, grab some unbeatable appliance deals. Save $1,300 on a GE French door refrigerator with ice and water, just $2,699. Or snag a GE top freezer refrigerator for just $799. A GE dishwasher for $399. Or a GE over-the-range microwave for $299. Need laundry solutions? Get a GE 27-inch gas laundry center for $1,099 and save $700. Or save $900 on a GE or LG front-load laundry pair. Now $2,299. And get a top-load washer for $539. Don't wait. These Black Friday deals are only good until Saturday, November 30th. Bransauce Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 for more details.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. We know that Premier, the Honorable Juliana O'Connor has a meeting that she has to go to. Actually, it's 5 minutes late already. We've made her late. One of our listeners had a question in relation to whether or not anything will be done for senior citizens as far as the Christmas is concerned. And before you answer the question, I just want to say, to those persons out there who, criticize the government for doing what they've done in terms of civil servants and pensioners, and hopefully something for senior citizens as well. You heard the Premier earlier talk about family, talk about the UK family. What do you do at Christmas time for family? You give them something. You give them a gift.
Mm-hmm.
So for all of you critics out there, just remember family and gifts, especially those who really need it and those who will appreciate it as well. So, Premier.
Thank you. Yes, OC. And thanks to the person inquiring. The Honourable DP, Kenneth Bryan, obviously has that responsibility now. And I've been reliably informed, which I concur, that there'll be a one-time benefit to the seaman, the veteran, and the senior citizens. I would know better by next week. I don't want to steal his thunder because we're working out the figures to make sure that we keep within the FFR and don't in any way jeopardize that, despite what naysayers are saying. But yes, they are family. They were the building stones of our, what we enjoy here in Cayman today, and every effort will be made to ensure that they get a little bit of St. Nicholas cheer as well. I want to say quickly, Lucy, before I have to run off, if you don't mind. There have been a number of district days. I thank Minister John and his team, Danielle and all those who have pulled it off, and Swanky who swanked in town, and we got jealous on the Brack, so they're going to be swanking over the Cayman Brack. On Saturday is the Cayman Brack District Day. It's presented by the Ministry of Border Control and District Administration, co-sponsoring. It's at the Watering Place Gardens. Opening ceremony commences at 11 a.m. at the Gardens. There are a number of daytime activities. They have heritage displays and traditional games at 11 to 5. Family fun zones of cotton candy, water slides, bouncing castle, includes face painting. I should ask them to do one of your faces. You're a popular icon on the Brack. Food festival, now that we are finally acknowledging on a national stage that, well, I don't call it rundown, I call it coconut dinner or stew turtle and heavy cakes. A lot of that will be there. There's going to be live entertainment. There are going to be recorded performances as well. We're going to have Gimme Story. That's going to be there. Okay. We're going to have Lord Graham in the house with his fireworks. In the afternoon, a stunning to play at 7:30, and then Swanky Kitchen Band. Live music, I'm told, from 7:45. My notes say until 9 p.m., but everybody that knows Watering Place knows it till 4-day morning. I haven't told my good cabinet secretary, who happens to have another cap and is an excellent violin player. Paul is going to be in the house. That's our birthplace, so we plan to have a mighty good, clean time. And I know that you may get a question. There was an ask for alcohol to be sold. I don't do alcohol at any of the functions that I'm there. We have big turnouts. We have a great time. They want to do alcohol, that's their own mature decision. But we're going to create a family atmosphere with children and stuff there. They're within walking distance of buses and Elvis, and they can do whatever they want. But on Crown property, no sale of alcohol. But there'll be good, healthy drinks and lots of good food. And then finally, we brought Cayman to London. And so we want to thank Dr. Tasha, Jason, Cab Sec, and all the team that worked together. I've never seen so many Caymanians in London, and the aesthetics also, you'd been very pleased. We came out of cold, chilly, bone chilling London temperature, and we walked into a very warm, tropical, with Swanky drink that was there, and they had some mocktails that were there. We had dominoes that were playing upstairs, so you saw Caymanians who were in London playing dominoes, and they took the Cayman personality. They were still rowing about 6 hours. I didn't believe that. And then we had we had a band from Bonton, Impulse, that actually got the pulsating, pardon the pun. And you saw Caymanians dancing with their family. I mean, I saw cousins that were there, haven't seen in donkey years, that came, and it was interesting to watch how they were now born in England to English father and Cayman mother, and some songs they got the rhythm, but some songs they're not quite there yet. So we need to have
to come home.
We need to have some more Cayman days for there. But it was such a wonderful atmosphere to hear your own music, to get your own food, to get your own beverages, to have your own games and enjoy it. where people were proud, and so many people came up with the Cayman t-shirt. Even though it was cold, we found ways to wear shirts underneath and layer up. And so I just want to say that if you didn't go to London, there's another opportunity for you to celebrate Cayman Heritage. It's going to be at Cameron at Watchways Gardens. Don't miss it. Cayman Areas would enjoy your patronage.
Great. Capsack, anything you want to say before we leave?
Oh, well, Mr. Connor, it's always a pleasure to be here to support our premier. As you are very well aware, our duty and our responsibility in the Cabinet Office is to support the government of the day. And our elected government don't have an easy job. They really don't. And it's quite often very thankless with exceedingly long hours and so many challenges. And so as we get to the end of this calendar year, and most importantly, the end of the hurricane season, we can finally breathe a sigh of relief because in the midst of all that we're dealing with on the political and the international stage, we've had to deal with so many different, near misses this year and a couple of actual direct hits. So, we had Hurricane Beryl in July, we had Cyclone Helene, in September, and of course then Hurricane Raphael actually touched Little Cayman. And, between us having our own local preparations, we had a pretty good old nor'wester earlier in the year, and then we had some heavy rain in June. We had so many natural weather systems and issues over the past year that things could have gotten really, really, really bad for us. In fact, we were blessed to be in a position to help some of our other fellow Caribbean states who were profoundly impacted by some of the storms. So the whole purpose of Cayman Thanksgiving is to celebrate, first and foremost, something that we can agree on, because talk shows are our venting point. Caymanians are not violent people, so we will give you a tongue lashing, but we won't be other than that. So people lash out over the airwaves and get to express themselves. But I think there's one thing we can all agree on, and that's to be thankful at the end of a hurricane season. If we don't have everything laid down, and even if we lose our homes and lose our trees and our plants, if we still have our lives come the first Sunday in December, we can pause to say thanks. So that's what the encouragement is. It's for us as a community to get together and to say thank you for, to the good Lord for sparing our lives, for health, and thank you to those people who worked to get us through the year and to support each other. So one of the things I would like to do, take this opportunity without begging for Mayor's indulgence beforehand, is to thank my teams, especially within the Cabinet Office. They have worked so hard. One of the tasks that when Miss Julie took over as the Premier, she acquired a few more departments and put them under the Cabinet Office, namely the National Weather Service and Hazard Management Cayman Islands. Need I say no more? I haven't had much sleep since, right? So the grey hairs and the bags under the eyes will tell you that, because with all these storms, exactly. Well, you created a very good look for the Cabinet Secretary, so I'm trying to emulate that look. It's a very distinguished look. So I'm being told I'm looking more and more distinguished. So I take that with pride. But the Miss Julie's, if anyone knows the Premier, she doesn't sleep very much because she's up all night looking at weather. That's her thing, right? The weather's her thing. She has not been received any certification in meteorology, but her and John Tibbetts and Kerry Powery have some very interesting discussions because she can go toe to toe with them at any day. She's quite incredible with her forecasting skills, and so the very first thing she said to us, we have to get that radar fixed, right, and fixed properly. And so we had an incredible project team in the Cabinet Office led by Cassandra Morris, and anyone knows her, she's like a dog with a bone. She will not let go, and so she worked with the weather team to get the radar up and running. And if you recall, throughout all these storms and issues we've had this year, we've had the benefit of our radar to the point where the U.S., the National Hurricane Center, was using our radar for Raphael to get details, etc. And because it has a level of information when the storms are near us that they don't have, at that critical time. So, really grateful for our comms team. Any elected government, any premier needs to be able to not only to drive the policy mandate of the government, but to ensure the communication of that policy mandate. That's a central function of a premier's role. And, to ensure that their team and the message that's going out is a single message. And so I want to thank the Director of Comms, Director Radio Cayman, all of those wonderful team and people who sacrifice so much and work quietly behind the scenes to ensure that the government's messages get out there. You know, they didn't get any sleep during any of these storms, plus everything else, you know. And of course, all the rest of the teams in the cabinet office. And Dr. Tasha, it was her time up last week to really show her stuff, but she's always there working. And, you know, all of the things that Julie Campbell with the Ministry of Financial Services teams, you know, they're not here, but they're over there making sure that our lives are a lot easier and simplified. And so, you know, we are so blessed to have so many other people. My policy team, Mr. Jason Webster and Ms. Krista Seymour Mohammed, my 2 DCOs, they are exceptional. And all of our teams within the Cabinet Office family, I can't say thank you enough to them for putting up with me, so keeping us going. So, and I'm thankful, of course, of my family and all my colleagues in the public service. You know, it's been a long, hard year, but we made it. So.
And thanks to OC for seeing the diamond in the ashes.
Very much so.
Ms. Coleman, any final comments?
Just to say that I'm very grateful to be given the opportunity to support our Premier at the JMC and Dr. Basdeo as well in the Ministry and Financial Services Policy, particularly with beneficial ownership, which is my favourite topic. So I'm very happy to be here. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Basdeo.
I want to look back to something Premier said earlier, integrity. We've approached our financial services industry with integrity and professionalism. We know how important it is, and we're doing our best to make sure we are protecting and growing that key industry for us. And I too want to thank my team for their involvement and working with me over the last year in particular as we wrestle with this very big issue. As a ministry, our vision is to be globally respected, a financial services center of excellence. And the alignment we have to do that task and the work we do with our industry to get their feedback and their comments to make ourselves stronger, that's important. I give thanks for that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all as well. Premier, apologies for making you late for your next meeting, but again, you know, thank you. I know that people of the Cayman Islands are appreciative, you know, of what you're doing. Yes, you will have the naysayers out there and everything else. But yes. But again, you know, thanks, you know, for your leadership. It means a whole lot, especially, you know, when you have certain challenges and more is placed on your shoulder than you anticipated at the time, and you know you have carried that. I won't call it a burden. You have carried that load. You know, well, you know, as well. Yes, that is important. Folks, we're going to take our last commercial break. When we return, I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about, but I won't have a whole lot of time left after that. Please stay tuned. Talk Today. We'll be back shortly.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Protect your computers and mobile devices with security software to defend against cyber attacks through viruses, malware, and other online threats. Be aware of unsecure Wi-Fi connections when in public. If you need to access your online banking or sensitive information on your mobile devices, try disabling the Wi-Fi and switching to data from your mobile network. If you suspect a fraud attempt, please contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Freedom, Cayman Rack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Do you want to make a difference this holiday season? Well, join the Lions Club of Grand Cayman in spreading joy and helping those in need. On Saturday, November 30th, Lions members will be at all Foster's locations, Kirk Market, Kirk Home Center, and both A.L. Thompson's locations, collecting funds for the needy. Your generosity can bring smiles to those who need it most and brighten our community this holiday season. Together, we can make a difference. See you on November 30th.
Together, the Lions Club of Grand Cayman and you can make a difference. See you November 30th.
Don't wait another day. Priced Right's Black Friday is on now at Priced Right's Airport Center and Priced Right Republics. Get a 65-inch Samsung Ultra HD Smart TV for $419.99. Save $300. And Fuse Sound with an Altamia Nova Ultra Slim soundbar for $89.99. Save $30. But hurry, sale ends Saturday, November 30th. Find the full Black Friday sale catalog online at pricedright.ky. Shop happy this Black Friday at Priced Right.
Cayman Thanksgiving, a time for gratitude and celebration. The Church of God, Bordentown, invites the Cayman community to a special Cayman Thanksgiving celebration service this Sunday, December 1st at 10:30 a.m. Come together as we reflect on the goodness of God over the past year and celebrate His blessings in our lives. On behalf of the Church of God Chapel family in Bordentown, have a blessed and joyful Cayman Thanksgiving and look forward to seeing you this Sunday at 10:30 a.m.
Funky Tank's Black Friday weekend sale is on now. Mark says that if you snooze, you will lose on some great savings. So head on down now to Funky Tanks and take up to 30% off store-wide, 10% off computers, televisions, accessories, and all AC units, 15% off cell phones, linen, small household appliances, fridges, stoves, and auto accessories, 20% off fans and hair care products, 25% off cell phone accessories, portable radios and CD players, tablets, and fireworks, 30% off batteries, perfumes, musical instruments, and accessories. Nintendo Switch reduced from $389.90 to $298.95. Sale is on at both Funky Tanks locations. Shedden Road, call 949-0998 and Countryside Savannah, 943-0998.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Again, extremely appreciative of the Premier Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly for updating the people of the Cayman Islands about the results of the Joint Ministerial Council meeting that was held in London last week, and she certainly ably represented the Cayman Islands, but not only that, but as the chair of the UKOTA, United Kingdom Overseas Territories Association. She certainly represented all of the overseas territories, and we know that whenever those joint ministerial meetings are held, that the rest of the overseas territories delegations, they look to the chair of UKOTA at that time for the leadership, and she certainly delivered based on what we are seeing, based on what we're hearing as well. So I have about 6 minutes left to go. I will share with you one media statement that was released via Tower, and that was released earlier today, and it says government urged to provide with 28 days public consultation when presenting new bills in Parliament. And before I read it, I will say that in the past that most governments, when taking office, that is one of the pledges that they make, that they will ensure that there is adequate and legally required public consultation before bills, or publishing of bills before they're brought to Parliament. So this says, in view of the Deputy Premier Kenneth Bryan's remarks at the Chamber of Commerce's parliamentary luncheon held on the 14th of November, my colleagues and I have considered the government's aim to introduce a referendum bill and a proposed National Conservation Amendment Bill at the next meeting of Parliament, scheduled to commence on 9th of December. Pursuant to our earlier public comment, we consider the published financial services bills to be necessary and urgent to assist the government in generating revenue to meet its planned 2025 expenditures. We would not consider a proposed referendum bill or a National Conservation Amendment Bill to be so urgent as to justify varying the constitutionally mandated due process by waiving the 28-day notice and foregoing the complete 28-day public consultation in order for the two proposed bills to be debated at the next meeting of Parliament. Of the 21 bills, 13 bills are coming from the Ministry of Financial Services and 4 are from the Ministry of Social Development. The 13 financial services bills had the benefit of months of informal industry consultation starting in quarter 3 of 2024. The 3 main social development bills, namely the Older Persons, Adoption and Children, are necessary because they provide overdue safeguards and enhancements for some of the most vulnerable in our community, such as our older persons and the children. Furthermore, the social development bills have had the benefit of 2 years of policy development, multiple focus groups, and broad stakeholder consultations, and meet the constitutional requirements for public consultation. And that is where it ends. And this was a media statement issued by MP Andre Ebanks from West Bay, who represents the constituency of West Bay South. What I will say with this, folks, is that there will be interesting times in our Parliament come the 9th of December. It will be interesting. We know exactly the position that MP Andre Ebanks takes based on his press release. There's one paragraph here that says, pursuant to our earlier public comment, we consider the Public Financial Services Bill to be necessary and urgent to assist the government in generating revenue to meet its planned 2025 expenditures. Now, when he says we here, I am not sure who he's referring to, whether or not it was the government at the time or whether or not he is referring to himself and his other colleagues who left the government. I'm, not sure what that, what the we stands for in this particular case. We know that there is no I in we, there's no I. So leaves it open to interpretation, but it will be interesting to see what transpires in our Parliament, what position other members of Parliament who do not form a part of the government or who have made commitments of supply and support in our Parliament for the minority government, it will be interesting to see the positions that they take in relation to this. How many will feel that the referendum bill is necessary? There are persons who have opined as to whether or not it is necessary at this point in time when you're having an advisory referendum, but we don't know which government is being advised, because this is taking place at the same time as our elections. We know that there are persons out there who feel that amendments are necessary to the National Conservation Bill or Amendment Bill because of certain things that need to take place, certain things that may collide with environmental concerns, may collide with developmental concerns as well, physical development in the Cayman Islands. Again, I won't opine on this. I will just throw the question out there. Interesting times. So make sure that you tune in the 9th of December when Parliament convenes to see the positions. Maybe we will hear before then the positions that others may take on this as well. And for clarity, as far as this press release is concerned, is it possible for us to know who the we are? That would be interesting as well. If it's the 4 members, then, maybe it should say so. With that, folks, it has been a pleasure hosting for standing in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. I hope I have made him proud and I have done justice, to his show as well. Of course, there's nobody like Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and I didn't in any way pretend to be like Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and I want to thank all of his faithful followers, his listeners, who contribute to his show, those who have called in and assisted me along the way to keep the conversation going, as well. It is a weekend coming up soon. Today's Thanksgiving, and while we're not really Americans, there are many people here who celebrate the U.S. Thanksgiving, and for those of you, we say enjoy it. You heard the Cabinet Secretary talk about, being thankful and talking about Cayman Thanksgiving, as well. And we have so much to be thankful for here in the Cayman Islands, despite the fact that we complain, we curse and we complain, but we have a lot to be thankful for as well. And we should express those thanks when at the same time that we're complaining about other things as well. So folks, have a great evening. Please stay safe. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these 3 beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.